How do I buy my first rental property? Now, back in the day, I worked in the motorcycle industry. I helped people with their first motorcycles. I worked in the fitness industry, and I helped people do their first push-up, their first sit-ups, their first pull-ups. Now I'm in real estate investing and property management, and it would be awesome if I could help some people get their first rental property. So I've interviewed hundreds of investors. I've interviewed hundreds of real estate professionals. Think about attorneys and lenders and insurance agents, CPAs, brokers, real estate agents, etc. I've interviewed a lot of people to learn their journeys, to learn more about the industry, to learn more about their backgrounds and mindsets, successes and failures and strategies and goals, everything like that. The people that started a long time ago, when they bought their first property a long time ago, a lot of them just got started. They just took action. They didn't have a whole lot of resources. They might have had someone else in the community that they knew was buying property. They might have just figured buying a house was a smart idea. They just took action. And so if you kind of fast forward to today, we have all the resources we could ever need. Google, YouTube, AI, podcasts, books, social media, investor meetups, and I could go on and on. And it's very easy to access at no cost, essentially. And so you can access people, and you can access these events, and you can access this information. So I don't need to sit here and tell you, especially if you're listening to this, how to access this information. You already have access to it. The real high level activity that you need to be doing is, number one, build relationships. Build relationships with other investors. I would suggest getting online, finding the meetup groups, talking to other investors about what meetup groups you should go to that have the best reputation, the best people, then show up at those meetup groups, try to get to know people, ask about their journey, their goals, their strategies, their accomplishments, what they invest in, et cetera, et cetera. You want to learn about that person and what they've accomplished and what their mindset is and what their journey has been like. You want to see if you can go on site to their properties and walk their projects that they're working on. You want to see if you can ask what they bought it for, what the rehab costs were, what they're going to refi at, what the ARV is, what the rent might be. These are the conversations you want to have online and in person. You want to build these relationships, build the professionals around you, the lenders, the property managers, the attorneys, the real estate agents and brokers, your CPAs and your insurance agents. You want to build that team around you as well. Now, the whole time you're building these relationships, you're talking about your own goals. You're focused on other people and their accomplishments, but you do want to talk about your own goals and make sure they understand what you're trying to do. Once that relationship is built, they're going to see some of these opportunities that they may not be able to take advantage of, but it may be a good fit for you. And that's likely how you're going to get a first deal. Now, you need to be ready for that when it happens. You need to understand what these numbers are like. So when you're asking all these questions and building these relationships, you also want to be getting on buyers lists, talk to wholesalers, get on their list so you're getting their emails. You likely will understand that, hey, they've passed up on holding the deal. They probably have close friends that have passed up on holding the deal, and that's why it's in your email inbox right now. So it may not be the best deal, but what it is it's practice. And you get to run the numbers. You get to gauge what their ARV is versus yours, what their rental analysis versus yours, what their rehab cost is versus yours. You can ask the tour of the property. You can do some research that way. It's hands-on learning and training on real potential deals. And then as you go, you might find some that actually work. You might find some that you're willing to keep some money in so that you can purchase something. You're developing relationships along the way because you're asking questions, you're touring properties, and people are seeing that you're taking action. So those relationships you're building are actually growing stronger because you're getting more integrated in the community. So the last thing, let's assume that you've built a professional team around you. You're building relationships with investors. You're running test numbers on all these opportunities that come across your desk. The last thing for you to do, and only you, is take action. So many people do the first couple of steps and they don't do anything after that. And they usually rationalize, or they make excuses, or they talk about money or time, or they say, well, it's just not a great market, or let me wait until the market's a little bit better. Meanwhile, people who take action are taking action. They're making things happen. And so at some point, if you are going to invest in real estate, you just have to buy the deal. Now, it may take 3 months or 6 months, depending on your networking and how well you are getting in and building relationships and understanding this stuff. It may take some time to get into. A lot of people say they want to invest in real estate, but they might not actually want to put in the work to do it. So you need to gauge, are you a person who's going to take action? And if it's been a year of you reviewing properties and running these numbers and building relationships and you don't have an investment yet, you might want to look internally and see if you have analysis paralysis or you're just not taking the action that you need to take. Now, you might say that I don't have enough money. That's fine if that's truly the case. Now, you should have a small cushion for emergencies and contingencies, absolutely. But you can borrow other people's money. You can leverage relationships. You can leverage partnerships to get into deals. You don't necessarily need all the money cash up front to make a cash offer. And you'll learn that through the relationships that you build. Hardly, a lot of people aren't starting off that way. You might say, I don't have any time. Again, you can leverage these relationships that you're building and you can use other people for their time. For example, the wholesalers, they have marketing, they have the time to go to talk to these sellers and everything like that. And if you have the right wholesalers on your team, they just deliver the deal right in your lap. And so if they understand your criteria and you know the numbers, then you can take advantage of that. And that solves your time issue. Now, imagine sitting in the parking lot and you just typed your address into your GPS. You haven't moved anywhere yet. Your GPS is just sitting there spinning in circles because it doesn't know which way you're facing. If you just took 3 steps forward or you just pulled the car up just a few feet, it will orient and it will know exactly where you are, what direction you're facing, and where you need to go. If you don't take action, you'll just sit there and spin. If you just make small moves, you'll know what direction you want to go versus what direction you don't want to go, and things will start to happen and you'll get some results, and eventually you'll reach your destination. Reach out if we can help, if we can be a resource. Let us know. Good luck getting your first rental property.